Another episode of Chef's Kiss. I got my boy Mike, aka the Shy Kid. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, baby?
Dude, how are you?
Dude, so horrible. I was supposed to be in Indiana right now with Mike Powers for the candy convention, Candy Con. I don't know what they
Oh,
call
is
it.
he out there?
He's out there. He's doing it, man. 90s candy, super dope. But thanks to Costco's chicken tenders, I got food poisoning last night, so
Oh,
did not get to make that trip. So shout out to Costco.
damn, dude, you got to hit up those Costco guys. You see those Costco guys on TikTok? It's boom or doom. The little kid with his dad, right?
I know, right? I'm like, it was doom. It was doom, chef. I can't lie. It was not a great time.
Damn, dude. Chicken bake would never do that to you. The glizzy at Costco, I don't think would ever do you wrong.
No, the Glizzy's goaded.
But the tendies is what got to you.
Tendy's got me. Tendy's got me. It happened.
All right. No worries. Mike, aka the Shy Kid, why don't you just tell everybody real quick who you are, why you're here, and what exactly you do, where people can find you. Like who are you?
Of course. Well, first I'm chef's mistress, so you can't tell the wife, you can't tell anybody. I'm around
They know.
sometimes. They know. It's TMZ's everywhere. The paparazzi caught us a couple times.
They saw the
Um,
FaceTimes.
I think it was our trip in Vegas to when they caught us. I think that was what it was. They saw us
Probably.
coming out the hotel. But no, I'm the shy kid, man. Born and raised Chicago, Illinois, Jefferson Park, Northwest Side. Spent my entire life at Wrigley Field, worked years on the grounds crew, and ended up making a dorky little podcast that turned into 18,500 followers. And I'm blessed that, we're in the position we are today. Now a reporter for the Chicago Sky and the WNBA and minor league baseball. So we've been making some waves. Got to meet my guy Sheff. We got to talk about Justin Fields and Caleb Williams all winter long, and now we're on our way. Chicago Cubs baseball better than ever. Seems that way. Better than the 2016 squad. I don't know, but it's a nice little squad we got going on, man.
Mike, you do a fantastic job at reactionary videos. Literally before something ends, you are already on it, dude.
Um,
Whatever it is, Cubs, Bears stuff, as soon as something breaks, man, you are making a video and getting it out. You are the fastest creator when it comes to reactionary videos. So just want to say props to you for that.
oh, thank you, dude. Literally, like, and this is the only time you'll ever catch me not being humble. Like, nobody was fucking with me this past winter, dude. Like, I remember I was like, and it's not even like a positive thing. It had nothing. I just refused to sleep. I was like, Justin's getting dealt at some point. Cody's getting signed at one point. Well, we were drunk off our butts on St. Patrick's Day. I had to sober up, get Justin Fields content out there. And then obviously 3 a.m. I'm on the phone with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I go, gotta go. And she's like, "You're gonna hang up on me?" Gotta go. Bellinger just signed. Boop, hung up. Got to it. Like, yeah, and you're the same way, man. Like it's night in and night out, man. There are literally no days off.
And you have come a long way from, you say you were working at Wrigley Field, you were with the grounds crew, now you're covering their minor
Mhm.
league team, you're affiliated with WNBA Sky. We're going to get to that later. But, it's like you said, you had a dorky podcast, right? So it's dorky until it pops, right? And then it's not dorky anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big believer in being on your own path, being in your own lane. And if you go on the highway right now, 5 p.m. in Chicago, everybody's just trying to go. It's gridlock. Everyone's on one path. And then there's that one dude that takes the streets, and I think that's really what it comes down to is like really not to get into like a whole little motivational pep talk, but like for anybody doing anything,
No,
you know what
dude,
I mean?
yeah,
Like
get into it.
yeah, like people are gonna clown you for what you do. Like I grew up in a very different atmosphere than most people in the industry, most people that I work with on the beat. The way I talk, the way I walk, the tattoos, like, everything I have that goes on. You might look at that and say, "Oh, he's a punk, he's this, he's that." But I'm born and raised, fleshed out in this city, and this city made me who I am. And for me to continue this journey, it's just one of those things where you understand what it is. It's like you just have to keep betting on you. And I have made, actually, this doesn't even have to be a hypothetical. I have made the dopest video I have ever seen in the entire world. Unfortunately, Chef, I was the only person who thought that that was the dopest video in the entire world because it flops 9 times out of 10. Like the stuff
Sure.
you love is horrible. You know what I mean? But then eventually you're going to have stuff that sticks. And that's really just what it comes down to. And it's like, it's definitely a process, but at some point things just start popping.
Well, I like talking to people and connecting with people who have the same kind of
Mm,
vision or worldview as I do. Because if you're a creative person, and I mean, we create videos, we put ourselves out there, we like sports, we have takes, stuff like that. We have a vision. We realize that you can make something, like you can build something out of this with social media and talking
sure.
about sports. And everybody has a platform now, and why can't I have a platform, and why can't I have a big platform, and why can't I bring in money? So you deal with, it's always the people who don't don't do that, don't understand it, that always got like the most to say. The no profile picture, private accounts that are always clowning on you. I get it all the time, dude. Like I tell my wife, like I try not to let it bother me because I got to be like a big, strong, tough guy and all that stuff. But sometimes, you get those messages, man, or those those comments, and you're just like,
You get the stingers. You get the stingers
well,
for sure.
the thing is like I always got to be the bigger guy, right? Because I got something to lose. I can't say something like I'm building something here, so I can't say something out of pocket. You're gonna turn around and say, "Oh, look what he said," all that kind of stuff. So I'm the one that has something to lose. You're the loser with the private profile, saying all this stuff. You know what I mean? So it's hard to take the high road sometimes. But you posted a video today or yesterday or something like that I really liked. It was a Kobe Bryant one, and he said the mountaintop, right?
Hmm.
Everyone, you ascending to the mountain. It's made by small steps, and the peak. You can't look at the peak. It's these small steps, but you are getting to the summit eventually. So, yeah, dude, I like connecting with you and anybody that's kind of in this space that understands like creativity and sports and all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad we got to link up.
No, for sure. And like, why I love that mountaintop video, I would literally reshare it every time I see it. If I see it 7 days in a row out of the week, I'm going to reshare it 7 days out
Mm,
in a row. It's just sometimes, it's been a couple months since the last time I shared it. But why I love it is like, there's definitely small steps and there's big steps at the same time, but you have to treat every single one of them the same. And I think it's like really important to kind of break that down. Like, over the winter, I'm working at Jewel Osco. And if you know Jewel, you know Jewel. You know what I mean? Like
Jules.
I'm yeah, like I'm working there and it's horrible and it's just what I did all winter. I was talking to Mike Powers about it, like, and then I quit my job around February and I was like, man, fuck this. Like, sorry, I don't know if I can swear on here. I think I can
Yeah,
swear
you
on here.
can. Yeah.
I'm on Chef's Pod. I think I
Yeah,
can.
dude, we're good.
Um, but yeah, I was like, fuck this, and I left. And then Mike brought me on to give us a shot, and then I started doing stuff over there, and we've just been going balls to the walls with this. I saved up some coins, saved up some money from working, and now we're just kind of going all out, and it's turned into a blessing. And even this week, like I mean, our interview with Angel Reese went viral on ESPN, News,
Yeah,
everywhere.
we're gonna talk about that because that was
For
awesome.
sure. But the point of it all is like I could sit here and walk into the media room on what is it, the whenever the next home game is. I could walk in there and act like I'm the shit. But at the end of the day, there's been years where I'm not the shit. So you have to continue, hey, I had a great day. That's a great moment. But now we're on to the next. Let's get another one. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
think that's really what, that whole mountaintop is kind of the conversation of like the entire way up. You're not going to be able to get all the way up if right down the middle, I just like was like, okay, I made it. You know what I mean? This is a
Hmm.
moment I could just peak now. No, fuck that. We have to keep going, keep ascending. And the only way you do that is to keep acting like you're on the bottom.
Well, you realize how fleeting these moments are, like as you continue to get them, right? You
Yeah.
had that interview. It was covered by ESPN. Your quote everywhere, like so cool and stuff. In that you have that high for a couple, a day or two or
Sure.
three, and then it's gone, right? News keeps happening, like the world keeps
Hmm.
moving, and then it's like, shit, yeah, what's next? Like cool, you get to go to do something cool. You interview somebody or go to a flagship event, something like that. But then, yeah, it's done. Like I went to the Super Bowl media week. I'm like, damn, this is sick. That's
Hmm.
gone, dude. Like that's done now. Like like football's over. So yeah,
Right.
it's continuing to keep going at it, and you know, people aren't going to believe. One thing that I always, last thing I'll say on this is you can't depend on people to understand your vision because that's
Mm.
your vision, right? So you have an idea of what you want your life to be, your career, all this kind of stuff. So for me to understand you, I'm like, I don't know, whatever, Mike, do whatever you want. You can't expect other people to see your vision because God put that in your head. That's your vision. You know what I mean? So that's one thing I've tried to learn too is like don't expect people to understand you or support you or whatever because they don't have your vision. They're not seeing the path that you're seeing. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, for sure. Like I remember, like really, I don't know how much time we have, but I remember like my moment of like I'm doing this shit for real was I'm sweeping peanuts as grounds crew 4 a.m. every day. I'm a hoser. We got huge fire hoses. I'm sweeping up all the trash that y'all leave after every 120 start.
Yeah. Help
But
them out,
I'm
guys.
oh God, it's not hard, brother. I don't even understand the whoever allowed peanuts to just be thrown on the ground like it's okay. I have no idea, but that's a whole different pod in itself. But I think it's one of those things for me where like I'm interviewing all these minor league Cubs players, and I think it's 2021 at the time. And Ethan Roberts had just got called up for the Chicago Cubs, and I'm sweeping peanuts with the guys, and we're all walking with our squeegees, and we're walking in rows. And then Ethan runs on the field, and he literally hops over the gate and just gives me a hug because he made it to the league. And like that's the understanding of like, we put in work together in the minors. We put in the work together over the years, and I built that relationship. And all my guys around me who clown me for having a dinky little podcast were like, yo, like, how the fuck does Mike know Ethan Roberts? And it's turning into
Right.
how do you know Patrick Wisdom, and how do you know Paul Skenes, and how do you know Candace Parker and all these people? But just like you said, like, it's the vision and what we're doing, and nobody really sees the work you're putting in every single day. People back then didn't even watch my Ethan Roberts interview because Ethan Roberts was just a pitcher in the Cubs minor league system. Then he gets
Mhm.
called up. Now you're the shit. Now it's, oh, that's dope. Oh, you think you can hook us up with tickets? You think this is no, bro.
Fuck out of
Like,
here, dude. Yeah.
yeah, like what are we talking? But that's the vision, man. Every day you're I'm sure you're working a 9 to 5, and then the second you get off, you're working your other 9 to 5. That's far more important to you. I don't know what the fuck I just did. Was that a light bubble?
Yeah, you
Holy.
put a little bubble up there.
Hey.
Look like a booger bubble. All right, dude. We're gonna talk about some of the some stuff here. Obviously, Chicago stuff, some Philly stuff,
Oh yeah.
City Connects, some other stuff, and then obviously your Chicago Sky. But I was gonna start with Paul Skenes Day. Everybody was so excited. Paul Skenes Day recap. Um, Paul Skenes obviously very excited. We see what he did at LSU, won a championship there. Very, 1 point
Mhm.
something ERA, just incredible. The bullpen does everything they can to blow that game. You made a funny video on it because I was watching that live and I'm just like, oh my god, the bullpen's just imploding. So that's great, dude. I'm cool for Paul Skenes. He's gonna be
Sure.
electric, sure, right? The dude got a standing ovation, right? What was his line here? He had
I
4 innings
believe.
pitched. All right, he
Yeah.
he didn't even qualify for a win. 4 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, awesome. 7 strikeouts, good. 2 walks, 6 hits allowed, and then 3 runs. 2 of those were inherited by Nicholas. And then he gave up a dong to Nico Horner. So he gets
Nico Suave.
yeah, Nico Suave, dude. He gave, it wasn't like a standing, whatever, dude. I'm not trying to be like a hater or anything, but
No, that's fine. Yeah.
it's yeah, it's exciting. But what I'm concerned about is like, there's a price to pay for velocity, and I want to hear your thoughts on it because the way I see it is he's gonna have Tommy John surgery at some point, dude. Because there's no
Mhm.
way you throw gas like that in college, continue to do it in the majors, and then have that nasty slider. He's got a splinker. They're just making up pitches now. But there's a price to be paid for throwing that hard for velocity, right?
Mhm.
So I think he's going to have Tommy John surgery at some point in the next year, that year and a half, maybe whatever. And I don't wish that upon him at all. That's terrible. Would never do that. But I look at these pitchers: Shota Imanaga, Ranger Suarez, two of the best left-handed pitchers in the NL, in my opinion, who
Mhm.
top out at about 94 miles an hour. They're incredibly effective, and they don't have to throw gas. So I think there's a difference between having velocity and then actually pitching. So just yeah, your thoughts on like how Paul Skenes' day went and kind of like how he stacks up, I guess, either in the division or against other big pitchers.
Yeah, so crazy enough, I had a little extra dough put to the side, chef, and I was waiting for Paul Skeens' day for a while, and I was like, man, it's plus 300. If I put 500 on 8Ks right now, I could come up big. And for whatever reason, I was like, nah, Paul's my boy. I don't want him to like, because then I'll be mad at Paul. You know what I mean? So I was like,
Right.
let me not even do that. So and luckily I didn't because he topped out at what 7. So I was like,
7, yeah.
okay, I was like, okay, it's perfectly okay. I get it though. You know what I mean? He starts the game first 2Ks and he's about to strike out the side, and the Cubs do a really great job at making sure they get somebody on base in every inning. You find that to be one of their I would say one of their best features is to be able to not just get out in one inning. So the Tommy John point, anybody listen to this, Sheff makes a great point. It's not hate in his heart. It's just what it is. Tommy John surgery is what the game is today. And it's because you want guys throwing 100 plus miles an hour every single at bat. So, I mean, Paul really takes care of himself. It's something I will say. Paul is, military born and raised. He is one of those guys that spends the entire offseason on the air base. He's doing his thing, and he really does take care of himself. Obviously, Livy Dunn is somebody who's in his circle as well. They take care of themselves very well. They're professional athletes. So I don't know, the intricacies of when that would happen or if it could happen. What I will say is this. I think the Pirates are doing a great job at making sure it doesn't happen, because you even saw, I know you said he didn't qualify for an actual win, but, the big thing about it is he only threw 84 pitches, so
Yeah.
they made sure, hey, this is a great moment, but we're not going to dog walk Paul and make him be the backbone of this team the same way you saw the Cincinnati Reds just cling on to Ellie De La Cruz last year and go on this ride. And that's great, but I think they understand what Paul means to them. And we've seen it in the past before of guys throwing over 110 pitches in a game. And it's like, I don't think we're going to see those kind of things anymore. Even if you're throwing a no-hitter, we've seen, in recency, David Ross pulls guys who are throwing a no-hitter because you don't want them to over-exacerbate themselves. So, I think Paul goes about it the right way. His stuff is nasty. His off-speed stuff is pretty sick as well. The one thing I will say is the walks. That's definitely going to be something that I think Paul is going to have to adjust to just a little bit. He's so used to freaking the fuck out of all these college kids and minor league guys. He's throwing 101. It doesn't matter if it's in the zone or not. These guys are swinging just because they're piss scared about it. It's a piss rocket coming at you. So
Right.
in the majors, these guys see this every day. So you saw him lose a little bit of control. Paul's going to be a dog for sure. I definitely see where you're coming from with the injury standpoint of it. That's just, you know what I mean? It feels like everybody gets Tommy John surgery nowadays. So we're not wishing that upon him. But we also understand that that's definitely a part of what comes with throwing 101 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is, right? Because
I don't think
that's
there
your
is one.
ticket. That's your ticket to the show. That's what everyone's talking about. Your ticket to the show is throwing gas, 100 miles an hour. That's what they want to see. They don't care about a Kyle Hendricks or a even Greg Maddux who can really work the zone, change levels. That can get you so far, but that's not what's going to get you looks. You know what I mean? You're in college and you could be carving guys up. If you don't have that, 99, 100 mile per hour, you're not getting looked at the way that somebody who can do that does. So I do think there is a price to be paid for it. It's unfortunate. And you see so many players, even like this season, going down with Tommy John surgery or, whatever. And maybe they're not even humming it up that high. It's just, whether it's, I said pitch clock plays a part of it as well, the pace of play, whatever. You could agree, disagree, but there's something to be said about, these pitchers. And we're not seeing pitchers throw complete games anymore. They're not throwing 120 pitches. You know what I mean? Like the managers are managing their innings, their pitches pretty well, but you're still seeing that. So there's
Right.
something to be said with that.
To that point, though, and me and you, I think we briefly brushed on it, and I didn't really talk about it too in depth, but I've had this opinion for years. I think, by the time I'm 50, 60 years old, I think the starting pitcher role is going to be a lot different. I don't think guys are going to be going 5 to 7. You know what I mean? I think really it's going to turn into guys going 1 to 2 innings, all guys throwing at that point, maybe even 110. Who knows, Sheff, with the way we see these guys continuing to rise in velocity. But I definitely do think the starting pitching role is going to change, and you're going to see more bullpen than you are starters in all actuality. That's your question of how do you fix the Tommy John issue? If you just have guys throwing 2 to 3 innings a game, I don't think we have these problems. You know what I mean? And I think that
Sure.
might be a solution that maybe later down the line. I know today some old heads are going to tell me, you can't do that. I could do whatever I fucking want if I'm the manager of this team. And I think
Right.
somebody's going to experiment with that at some point. We've kind of already seen it in small spurts on, short days or two double headers or whatever. And it works. So it's like maybe at some point we're going to get to a point to where starters aren't even going more than 5 innings.
Yeah, my only rebuttal to that would be, I guess, just the pitchers' preparation and like they're, every 5 days they're very
Sure.
regimented. So I think it would be hard to kind of adjust pitchers unless you got them early to say like, yeah, this is how we're going to go about using you, because they're very regimented. And every 5th day we saw, I think it was Wheeler's, not as previous start, not his last start, but before that, he had an extra day off, and it kind of really messed with him. He was like, yeah, I was kind of just off. I had an extra day's rest. So that kind of stuff really does mess with pitchers. So we'll kind of see how that goes moving forward. But let's talk about the Chicago Cubbies, dude. Chicago Cubbies update 24-7. They're a half game out of first place in the NL Central, fifth best record in the NL. We got, dude, today it's a Shota shove day, dude. Shota best. Tell me who you think, dude. I got Shota and Ranger Suarez as the two best left-handed pitchers in the NL right now. I don't think anybody else.
No, and listen, respectfully, I'm gonna say this in the kindest way possible. The Ranger stuff. I told my boy Rico this earlier. He was like, "Hey man, I'm thinking of trading for Ranger." Now we're both. I'm 4-1. He's 5-0, and I'm like, "Nah, bro, hold on to that. Wait till July," because we saw Marcus Stroman in the first half of last year. It was one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball. Crapshoot went right down. So I've seen Ranger throughout his career. I think he's off to a great start. Shout out to him. If he figured something out, hey, shout out to him. I'm not a hater, but history's past has told me this isn't going to be a long-term thing. Shota and Managa, what I've seen overseas is exactly what I'm seeing right now, and I was super skeptical. Me and you had a conversation about, especially when he faced off against the Dodgers in spring training, and you were like, man, the velocity may not be there, but he has great stuff, but I think he puts it a little high on the shelf, and that's going to be a dinger issue. You know what I mean? You're going to have dingers left and right, and that's been the complete opposite of the case. He even dog walks the Dodgers in the beginning of April. So Shota's been great, man. A Shota shove day. I remember we were there for his debut before I ran all the way across town to see Acuna dog walk the White Sox, and it's been nothing but amazing thus far, man. And his PR team. I'm sure you've spoken on it. I've seen your video about it. I mean, the Chelsea Dagger song, what you're doing to really embrace the city, giving the shirtless guys some shirts in the bleachers. I mean, he has really just embraced himself into Chicago, and then Chicago's embracing him. And honestly, to think how mad Cubs fans were that we were out on Ohtani. All I'll say is, Shota's interpreter is not out here going to federal prison. So shout out to him. I think we won.
Yamamoto too, dude. I mean, Yamamoto's he's pitched very well, but not as good as Shota.
No, not even close. He's giving up home runs left and right, and it's just like, Shota. It's just an energy. It's an energy. He's calm. I said he's calm like water. I know Bruce Lee said that way back in the day. He's still, and he's just quiet. He just goes out there. He does his thing. But the exact second you need him to get that little electrifying boost, he has it. Like, he's screaming. He's hyped. And I love that from. You saw the video the other day. He bows every time he gets a new ball from the umpire. Like, it's stuff like that, man. That I just think, like, this guy is becoming a fan favorite before our eyes.
Yeah, he's my favorite pitcher to watch, dude. And a lot of I forgot who they were interviewing, some hitter. They were just saying, like, his release point it's the same. It's just like his slot is the same every time, but that ball just ends up in different spots. The slot, they're tracking the slot, the exit point, and it's just so hard to track for whatever reason. And he's not humming it at 100. He's topping out around 94 or something like that. So the fact that he can do that with his pitch mix is just incredible. We got Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki back, returning to the lineup. Swanson does go on the IL, but excited to see Bellinger and Suzuki back in the lineup, dude. When they went down, it was really kind of just like a letdown. You're just like, shit, dude, another month with them on the bench. But the Cubs, I mean, they treaded water, dude. They had Tyon, Suzuki, Bellinger, some other pitchers as well.
Justin Steele,
opening day, dude. They all went on the IL during April, and the Cubs just continued to win. They put up runs. So excited for Belly to be back, for Suzuki. I want to get your thought on this, because I love Christopher Morel. I think everybody in Chicago loves Christopher Morel, right? Dude, the guy, speaking of like electricity and bringing a spark plug to your lineup, man. I mean, that's him. He's a spark plug. He's that guy that you want in the 4 spot right there. The defensive liability at third base, dude. So I want to see like what you think on that. Is there, because he can DH obviously, but he makes a lot of errors at third, dude. I mean, I saw a couple games. He's 2 through 3 errors in like 4 games or something. He's really struggling to find his footing at third base. So I don't know if there's a solution for that, or what do you think?
I think you just have to walk it out. You know what I mean? And I think it's definitely something that's coming in time. The thing about Chris is, he's played third base the majority of his life, and people don't realize that. And then when you come into the Cubs organization and you get turned into an outfielder or a second baseman, it's really hard to transition back into that, especially when David Ross fucks with you and says that you're not good enough to make the opening day roster, and then you're not good enough to play more than 110 games, but you're right under Cody Bellinger and 25 home runs on the year, which that's a whole different conversation. We could talk shit about Dave all day. Love him.
Yeah,
Shout out
yeah, I
to
love
hey,
Dave.
Grandpa Rossi. That's the guy. But as a manager, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was ridiculous. You got Suarez and all these other guys at third base, and it's like, what are we doing? But Patrick Wisdom, Nick Madrigal, like Nicky was solid defensively, but what are we doing? But Chris, man, I mean, he is electrifying. He is second to none. You know what I mean? He is without a doubt one of my favorite players in this entire division. When we talk about the faces of the NL Central, I'm looking at guys. What is it? Jackson Chirios out of Milwaukee, and then obviously
Hmm.
you have Ellie De La Cruz, O'Neill Cruz, Christopher Morel. The list goes on. I mean, whoever you want to name in St. Louis. St. Louis is boring, so there's nothing really going on over
Yeah.
there. Nolan Arenado's cool, but he's not like, you know what I
Paul
meed.
Goldschmidt
But
has been like historically bad, dude.
like,
Bad. I feel
I'm
bad for him.
like I don't want to say it's because he's 36, but I mean, at some point, you knew it was going to drop, but not that far. But Morel, defensively, man, what would you do? You know what I mean? Like, you have to do something to keep him in this lineup. And I think you have so many bats right now. Shout out to him. I was very critical on him when he first came out of high school. He skips college, he comes to the Mets organization, then he comes to the Cubs for Javi Baez and Trevor Williams. Pete Crow Armstrong came in here a little cocky, a little ego. I got to cover him a little bit in Iowa, and I'll say it to his face. I would never say something to you that I wouldn't say to him. Didn't like the way he carried himself, didn't like the way he moved, humbled very quickly. 0 for 10 in September,
He don't got
horrible in
that blue
spring
hair
training.
anymore, dude.
No, it's and but he seems locked. I've never thought he was a bad guy. I just
Sure.
thought, you're a little cocky coming into it, and I love a little swag to you. But when you start your career 1 for 18 or 1 for 28, it's a fucking problem. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
to have him hit his first big league hit and big league home run on April 25th, the same day Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze were blessed by the deep dish pizza in Chicago. Hopefully 10 years from now I remember that happened. But it's definitely something for me, man, to see all these guys coming in and out. I think that, and even Patrick Wizzy had a huge day the other day on Mother's Day. Having all these guys here that you can't really make position players. Christopher definitely can't DH right now because there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen that need that spot right now. And I think you would agree, he's made some great plays on the other side of that as well.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's frustrating because I've seen him make some insanely athletic plays at third base, and I've also seen him shit the bed. So I think that's really, until guys, and I know we're going to talk about maybe prospects a little bit later, but until guys like Matt Shaw or BJ Murray are truly ready to take over that spot, I think you're going to continue to see Christopher Morel get that benefit of the doubt. And for me, that really indicated because the Cubs didn't want to bring in Matt Chapman. If they truly wanted to see it through, I think you would have brought in Matt Chapman and DH Morel. But obviously, I think they think he's good enough to do that. He just needs to develop.
Well, tell me about this because I'm not crazy about Mastroboni. Mastroboni is starting at second base today, dude. So let's talk about some of those prospects. Is there anybody else coming up that you could have someone else go to? Obviously, now that Dansby's on the IL, somebody else besides going to Mastroboni right now because I mean he's playing second, and then Nico got moved to short. I mean we obviously love Nico. Nico can kind of play anywhere, middle infield, but just for that second base spot, is there anything else that the Cubs can do without just having to
Yeah.
rely on Mastroboni at second base?
Yeah, my guy. Arizona Fall League MVP did his thing. If we had a conversation about him a year ago, you'd be asking who he was. But he absolutely blew up this past winter, and the work he's putting in is incredible. He's dog walking his entire workout regime. James Triantos is definitely somebody I'd like to see at some point. I don't want to rush him just because he hasn't spent too much time at anything above Double A right now. But he's definitely somebody who's blocked due to Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. But man, this kid can hit the ball, man. This kid, I mean, he can hit the lights out the ball. Now, he's not pounding home runs left and right, but he's somebody who, just like Nico, he's going to give you a 285 plus batting average every single year. James Triantos makes plays. And unfortunately, the thing about Triantos is, like we said, just like Michael Busch, Michael Busch isn't good enough to make the Dodgers roster. That's because Freddie Freeman, Justin Turner and company were in front of him all these years. Mookie
Right.
Betts. So the second he gets into Chicago, boom, big move. Michael Busch is out here just swinging dick, hitting 5 home runs in consecutive games. Like it's what he does. So I think Triantos is kind of in a very similar situation. I think if the Cubs were a rebuilding team right now, I think Triantos would already be at the AAA level and then coming in probably sometime June, July. He's somebody that I would love to see just get a little work. Obviously you don't want to mess with his development. You don't want to mess with what he's got going on because, we've seen the Cubs do that several times of guys who just weren't ready. Even Matt Mervis bringing him up way too early last year. And it still hasn't really panned out today. So, he's somebody that I would look at. Another guy I think maybe I wouldn't want to just because primarily he's playing third base, but BJ Murray, somebody you could definitely take a look at. Miles Mastroboni, as much shit as I talk about him, last September won me over because I was pissed when Rossi brought him back up, and then he just went on this crazy hot streak. So I was like, you know what, forget it. As long as you keep shutting me up, that's perfectly fine. But Triantos is definitely somebody that, especially because of the trade deadline coming up, I'd like to get some work at some point, whether that be AAA or the big leagues, especially with Swanson down.
My biggest disappointment this season with the Cubs, Keegan Thompson.
Sure. The stash?
Dude, I was a huge fan of him when he got brought up, and I just loved him. I was like, dude, this guy, like, he's got kind of just this nasty face to him, and he's lights out. And then ever since he came back up, dude, he was just a huge letdown. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if he's not locating, but he's just giving up bombs. And he was a guy that I thought was going to be like, dude, this guy coming out of the pen is going to be awesome. And ever since he's came back this season, it just hasn't been there. I don't know if you've seen anything from that or have anything to say about it.
Yeah, well, listen, I try to stay as professional as possible. So if you clip this later, that people, Marquee could watch this, or
Sure.
MLB Network could be like, oh wow, great interview. But they fucked with them, and that's what it is. There is no other way to put that. They fucked with them. When you come in as a starter in this league, and then you come into as the bullpen, and then you go back to AAA and you're a starter again, and then you come back up and you're out of the bullpen. It fucks with you. I mean, it's a totally different preparation. It goes from once every 5 days to every other day, or sometimes every day, depending on the situation. So, Keegan was in a great role and had a great ERA last year in the spot he was in. And then David Ross says, we're going to switch that up. We're going to have him start a little bit. And then he gets shelled. And we got to bring him back down. He's not ready. Oh, he's ready. You just have him starting again. And that's the problem. So, Keegan, I think sometimes, there's other things that go into it, whether it's locating or not. I can't just blame everybody else saying everybody else is the problem. Sometimes your shit stinks too. But there's definitely levels to it and how he's preparing and what he's trying to do. You got to understand at some point, okay, am I a closer? Because if I'm a closer, I'm just going to throw hard. You know what I mean? I'm just going to try to do what I can do. I'm going to keep it to 1 to 2 pitches. But if I'm starting, I need to bring a repertoire. I can't be Cole Franklin with only 3 pitches. You know what I mean? I need 4 to 6 if you're going to be a starter. And if you're Yu Darvish, you have fucking 11. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and 90% of those are made up. You can't fucking fool me. But
Right.
it's definitely the Schlitter was the one I was just like,
Dude,
all right,
the ball can only move so many ways, dude. Up, down, left, and right. You know what I mean?
like, what is a Schlitter? I have no idea. That shit pissed me off. But I was just like, man, I think the thing about Keegs, one, he looks like a mall cop. And he's got the stash. I'm not really rocking with the porn stash, but it's definitely one of those things where you got to understand what role you want these guys to be in. And I know we'll talk about him in a little bit, but Adbert Alzolay is that guy for me, a perfect conversation. David Ross, inherits him, and he says, I don't really know what to do with this kid. He came in as a starter. I still got his first rookie Bowman signed. I was there for his debut. Kid was great. And I think he just slowly realized he wasn't going to be a starter or even a back of the line for these guys in 4 to 5 spot in the rotation. So they threw him into that closing role, and he was great. But the problem is when you do that, especially with a guy like Keegan, you said last year he had great stuff. There's not a lot of tape on a guy like that coming out of the pen, so these guys don't have a lot of preparation for it. Going into year 2, that's when you start to see guys get shelled. That's why at the beginning of the year when me and you heard, hey man, why did Craig Counsell say he's not naming Adbert the everyday closer off rip? That seems disrespectful to me. He had a 2.67 ERA. Now he has a 4.67 ERA and 17 innings pitched. His KD ratio in Call of Duty right now is dog shit. It's 13 Ks, 13 bombs. Like, it's just what it comes down to. So, I think you understand at the end of the day, year one you looked great, but you and I know the difference between an elite level closer and somebody who just had a great year in that role. You know what I mean? Like right now for the Chicago White Sox, you see a guy who's a great comp. Michael Kopech is a great comp. A guy who they wanted to be a starter, couldn't stay healthy, threw him in the pen. Last year he was solid. This year he's struggling a little bit. You got to find that balance. You got to find that role and where you belong. Even a guy like Aaron Bummer on the Braves that we're going to see soon. Failed starter comes in. Now he's a great closer. What's that going to look like next? He's not been great. He's been kind of dog shit. But it's interesting.
Yeah. So speaking of that, Adbert just went to the IL. The Cubs recalled. Yeah, right. Yeah, the Phantom IL. You brought up Jose Cuas. So let me ask you this, because the Phillies have had the same, not issue, but like you mentioned, Counsell not naming Alzolay the start, the closer essentially, and Phillies Rob Thompson did the same thing, not gonna name a closer, kind of by committee. My take on that is, I want to hear your take. I'm okay with that up until about June. If you want to have a competition for closing roles and see who is good in high leverage situations, who can come in 7, 8, and 9, who can come in, with guys on base, guys, in scoring position, things like that, figuring that out, because I think that's what a lot of the beginning of the season is. Who can I trust in high leverage situations and who can I not trust in a high leverage situation? So I'm okay with not naming, a closer, but by June, there needs to be a guy. So I always said, if there needs to be competition at the beginning of the season to see who's going to go 7, 8, 9, totally fine. But by June, you need to have a guy that's our closer. So we're not there yet, obviously. Phillies, I like Phillies. They go Alvarado, Hoffman, Kerkering in one of those orders. Doesn't have to be in that order, but to have a 7, 8, 9 guy, or at least just a closer named by June, that's what I want to see. So I don't know how you feel about that competition early in the season, having it named. I know you said, it was kind of disrespectful they wasn't going to name him at the beginning of the season, but how do you kind of see that moving forward?
Exactly what you just said. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, that was the conversation last year with David Ross. It's kind of by committee. We'll see what happens. Maybe Luke Little gets a shot at some point. Maybe we'll give it to Adbert. We'll see what happens. But, you end up trading for Jose Cuas, who, at that time was somewhat of a big deal. To be able to acquire that halfway through the season. Jamer Candelario, we made some moves to be able to kind of make that, postseason push, at least we wanted to. But, I think at the end of the day, if you're going into it a year again, that's when you have to start making a trade. That's when we have to start having conversations. I mean, Miami's just giving guys away. You know what I mean? Miami will pay you to take their guys. So literally, it's just one of those things right now that's going on. So I think the Cubs definitely do need to take advantage. We talked about it a little bit earlier. 8 prospects in the top 100. Like you said, and not to turn it into the prospect conversation, but there are real closers out there. Not that Everett's not one, but like there are guys who that is what I am, and I don't want to be. I'm never going to be a fill-in starter on a short day. I'm never going to start before the 8th inning. I am a closer, Class A, out of the Guardians organization. He's somebody I'm taking a look at. They got that kid on Oakland, but fuck that. Oakland's gonna want my
Mason
soul,
Miller,
and they're gonna want my soul. So I can't fix all your problems. You're gonna want me to fix all your problems. No, that's not my problem. Your team sucks. But I think the problem is with Adbert and the boys right now. First of all, if you come into this organization and your nickname is immediately Heart Attack Hector and Hector Neris, that's a problem. So it's Hector Neris. He gets the job done, but he freaks me the fuck out. Can't trust him in the closing role. He puts too many guys on to start the inning. Yency Almonte, I loved in the Michael Busch deal because if you look at his stats every single year, one year he's one of the worst relievers in the league, and the next year he's one of the best. So I think they got some guys. I still believe in Jose Cuas. I think he just needed it was a rough start. I think Luke Little will have some time as well, but I definitely do think they need to make a move because as much as I love Adbert and his electrifying, fist pump and play the damn song, we're priding ourselves on that. That's fun until it's not. And it's like you're just giving up dinger after dinger. And, yesterday, if you saw the video I posted, you see his body language. On Mother's Day, you get the save, you win the game, but you gave up a 2-run blast that if the Cubs don't get a run in the top of the 10th by a wild pitch, they didn't even earn that run.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't score, it's a tie game and you blew the lead for the sixth or seventh time this season. And there were other times he almost did it and we still found a way to win. So you're looking at almost 10 blown leads or 10 blown saves this season alone. Sheff, it's fucking April or it's May 13th. Like,
Yeah.
these are problems. So it's like, I don't know if I can trust you. I don't DFA you. I respect you and I understand your talent. And the problem for anybody listening to this, why doesn't he just go down to the minor leagues? Why do they have to say he's injured? They actually can't. They can't. You have a certain amount of people that you can bring down throughout the
Options.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Adbert's unfortunately not one of them. So, it's not something I don't think a lot of people expected. Council obviously saw something we didn't at the beginning of the year. That's why I always remember that. And I wish I could have a conversation with him to be like, what made you, I know he wouldn't admit this, but like, what made you see that? What was it from off the gate was it just the longevity and not having that, entire career mold of being an everyday closer, or did he just look like shit from the beginning and you peeped it before we did?
Mm-hmm. One of the other biggest surprising starting pitching would be Javier Assad, dude. I mean, he looks like, dude, he looks like he bags my groceries at Walmart. I mean, with those fucking glasses, dude, he looks like a cornball. But I mean, dude is pitching well, dude, just very effective. So that's I think one of the biggest surprises in the Cubs starting pitching as well. I mean, I didn't see that guy. I wasn't looking at Javier Assad and being like, man, dude, he's gonna have a fantastic ERA by the time May 13th rolls around.
Yeah, what is it, like 1.70 right now? I mean, he's dog walking it, and he's definitely. I picked him up on fantasy baseball. I just sold him actually. I got Tyler Glass now and Vladdy for Javier Assad, Christopher Morel, and Reese Hoskins. I made some moves, Sheff. I mean, I already got Bobby. I got Bobby Witt, Ellie De La Cruz, Ronald Acuna Jr. I got some dogs, so I was like,
stacked, yeah.
I'll send you the rotation later. But I had to get Vladdy. I didn't trust Reese. I had to get Vladdy. But I think the thing with Javier Assad, man, ass man himself, we saw this in the World Baseball Classic when he struck out the side against Team USA, and that was for me like
Mexico.
You know what I mean? He was doing it, and he was dogging our boys. He was dogging our guys. Like, you struck out Team USA. You struck out the side of, what was it? Well, I think it was Mike Trout, Trey Turner, and somebody else. If I'm not mistaken, somebody can quote me. It might not have been, but it was a great heart of that order, and I think that for me was like, all right, bro, like it's now or never. You just did this, and you're having a hard time making the fucking Cubs roster. What are we talking about? So for him to do what he did for Team Mexico, man, I mean, it's really dope. He's huge on his heritage. He's a great guy, from what I've heard. And he's wheeling and dealing right now. He's kind of taking. I call it the Space Jam superpowers. He took the Space Jam powers away from Kyle Hendricks, and he's just dogging it right now. So
left nothing for Hendricks, dude.
Man, left nothing. He had a solid day yesterday, though. I will say that. Solid day yesterday against the Pirates on Mother's Day. So shout out to him. Another guy on the Phantom IL who just came back. Hopefully, Adbert takes some notes. But yeah, man, I love what we've seen. Ass Man, I'm fully here for Shota Shove Day. We got Ass Man, the Man of Steel. I mean, we got some names. I know you saw that graphic too. I'm going to ask you a question, Sheff, because it pissed me the fuck off. Dude, you see that graphic they put up of all the Cubs players' ERAs, or all the Cubs pitchers' ERAs in the starting rotation? And they were like, yeah, look, they're all under 200. And like Hayden Wesneski was one of them. And I was like, dude, Hayden had one start. Whoever made this graphic is like such a fucking cornball. I was like, it's not even that deep. Like, let's calm down. Let's pump the Jameson Tyone just comes back. Oh, look, he's got a sub-2 ERA. I'm like, he just got here. Like, what are we like? It's I don't know. What do you get into that kind of stuff? Do you like those kind of stats, or like is that just kind of like you overlook it a little?
Well, it's usually it's got to be like qualified pitchers, right? Or minimum, 50 innings or whatever it is. Usually there'll be like a little subtext, and that's an important piece, right? Because you can cherry pick stats all day, but if you don't mention, oh, this is in the last 14 days, then what is that? What are we doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was like, dude, like, please stop, because then when we have a horrible ERA in the month of August, like, I'm gonna go back to that and be like, what happened? I thought we had the greatest rotation of all time. Like, we know, me and you know who these guys are. I'm hopeful that Javier Assad can keep his ERA under 3.15 this season. I think that's where I'm at with it. Do I think he's going to say sub-2 ERA the entire year? No. And if he does, shout out to him. But it's just not from what I've seen from him throughout his career. Hayden Wesneski, we don't even have to talk about. We know what that is. You know what I
What
mean?
you
We
got
know,
with him?
yeah, up and down. If you could flip him at the deadline, flip him at the fucking deadline. Him and Caleb Killian hold hands down the same road. So it's definitely interesting. But Ash, man, being a part of this rotation, being top of the order to fill in for a guy like Justin Steele, Kyle Hendricks, and Jamison Tyone at the beginning of the year, I mean, he has been huge. So he deserves his flowers 100%.
And one of the biggest things that provides, I mean, obviously your ERA stands alone by itself, but Cubs top 10 in runs scored, dude. They have the ninth most runs scored in all of baseball. They're just behind the Orioles, Yankees, Phillies, Dodgers. So I mean, they have the ninth most runs. I mean, they are putting the bat on the ball. Like I would have coming into the season, I would have never expected that they were going to be, top 9 scoring in
Right.
baseball, which has been very impressive.
Yeah, I would disagree with you. I was there. I was like, we have an offense that can bang right now. I believed in Michael Bush. I believed in guys coming up and having opportunities. I said, you and I talked about it in the live on TikTok. I believe that Christopher Morel is going to be an all-star. I still believe that. And I also believe that Seiya Suzuki is going to be a dark horse MVP by the end of the season. What I didn't see coming was losing Christopher Morel, was losing Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki, and Dansby Swanson, Patrick Wisdom, all these big names,
In
and
April.
we're still top 10. Like that was where I was like, wow, like this team's we're working, and they're still placing the ball right. They're still seeing the ball well. They're Listen, I'm not a huge Ian Happ fan, but Ian in the leadoff spot has been solid. He's getting on base. What do they say in Moneyball, Sheff, is that he gets on
On
base. That's
base,
everything.
exactly.
That's all that matters. I'm not a huge Ian fan, but Ian's doing his thing as well. And I think it's really interesting to see a team that lost their biggest bats and still were able to have a winning record in that span of time. I mean, this is the best, I believe, record in April since 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's
They they actually had the most wins in franchise history going
hmm
into May, because they started early. They started the 28th. Usually they would start like the first, but it's the first time because I made a video on it and I was pulling up the stats. It was the first time they had. It was the most wins
yeah.
going into May, which is crazy.
It's not. I think it was like what 2021 or something. 21, I think it was. But
I think it
it's
was 17 or 18, if
or
I'm not
17 or
mistaken. I
18.
could be
Okay.
wrong, but I think that might sound
It
more
does.
accurate.
It sounds more realistic for sure, but I don't know why I thought it was 21. But it's definitely something that we continue to see time and time again of organizations taking that next step. Unfortunately, our team normally never takes that next step. And to see them do that, man, I mean, it was just incredible. And to test, I know a lot of people have been very wishy-washy on Craig Counsell thus far in the decisions he's made. But one thing you can say is he isn't great at putting a lineup together because he knows where to place guys. I understand a lot of people are upset right now, not to get off topic, but like everyone wants to know why is Dansby Swanson batting seventh, eighth in a lineup? He doesn't. I mean, Dansby doesn't. I mean, that's not Dansby. Dansby's not a top 3 guy. He
Well,
never has been.
and if you listen to his, they asked him when they hired him, they're like your mantra or your belief in constructing a lineup, and he talks about I want my 1, 2, 3, 4 hitters able to hit the ball over the fence. Like that's what he looks for when he's constructing a lineup. I don't care who you are, you bat left, right, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to put the ball over the fence? You're batting in the first 4 spots. That's what he
Yeah.
looks for when he's constructing a lineup. And to your point, Dansby's not that guy, which is fine.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. And I think, I always say it like this, special team, special player, special place. And that's really how I break it down. But there's 3 units on a baseball team when you look at the offense. There's the top of the line guys, there's the middle guys, and there's the grounders. And I think they're all important for so many different reasons. Like even your ninth hole guy, like that guy needs to be able to get on base. You have to trust him to be able to do so because when that order flips around. And then, okay, we got a guy on first and now the top of the order. That's huge later down the stretch of a game. So, you got your guys who are smacking dingers and doing their thing at the top of the order. The middle ground is kind of where, okay, we got some guys who can hit, guys who can mash, some guys who kind of just do a little bit of both. And then at the end, that's really where you find out if you have a championship caliber roster or not. Those are the guys
Mm-hmm.
who are just going to get on base, whether that's walks, whether that's getting hit, like an Anthony Rizzo crowd on the plate, like whatever the case may be. You have to be able to ascend yourself into that third half of the lineup because if you only have for the first 2 phases of 3 phases, you're going home early. And you're going to be in Cancun. You're going to be at the golf course with Sheff. You're going to be doing your thing. So I like it, man. I like it a lot. And I will say to Dansby's point, thank God. Because I was going to text you about it. I was talking to Mike Powers. I was like, 4 errors already on a year coming off a gold glove where he only had 11. You find out he has a knee injury.
Mm-hmm.
Bless. Like that. I know that sounds horrible, but like I didn't understand. Was it because you're throwing to Michael Bush? Is it Michael Bush is bad at first? I don't think he is. He looks great. Is it you're
Mm-hmm.
not used to something? What's wrong with Dansby? Now we know he's slowly going to get that back into it. So I do want to say Dansby is a huge part of this team. And, even if he's at the bottom of the lineup, I could give a fuck.
Well, like you mentioned, the bottom of the lineup. Have you watch a lot of Phillies games or probably not?
Oh, I'm dancing, brother. I'm
Yeah.
dancing with y'all all
Oh,
the time.
nice. Good, dude. That's been one of the exciting things to see over the past couple games was production from the bottom of the lineup for the Phillies. Edmundo Sosa coming
Mm,
in. Trey Turner's, on the shelf for a little bit now. He's coming in, playing short. He's been productive. Pache and Rojas were productive last couple games. Had, multiple hits, multiple RBIs. So when I saw that, it's like you mentioned, I'm just like, bro, if we can get production from the bottom of the lineup, because when your big boppers go cold and Schwarber's not hitting, and Harper and Castellanos and Turner when he's back, like that's what you need. You need that bottom of the lineup to
mm-hmm.
spark something up. So seeing that was really good. Just to touch on the Phillies, dude, Phillies' best record in baseball. Production, top and down the lineup has been much needed. Starting pitching has been lights out. I mean, obviously, you know what you're getting out of Wheeler and Nola, and Suarez has just been awesome. We talked about that. Christopher Sanchez is on the bump tonight. There was let me get your thought on this, because this is a big discussion here in Philly. Spencer Turnbull, right? So the Phillies got Spencer
Mm,
Turnbull, and they got him for like a $1 million for a 1 year contract, and he was shoving at the beginning of the year, right? And you got Taiwan Walker, who got you 15 wins last year. Everybody in Philly, dude, is not a Taiwan Walker fan. I'm like, I don't know why you hate this guy. He won 15 games last year. He
yeah.
eats innings, and I mean, he's a unit. He's huge. Sure, he gives up a lot of contact, but I mean, you're a team that has top two scoring offense, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue. So they moved Turnbull to the bullpen. People are, yeah, let him go, let him go. I'm like, Turnbull hasn't thrown more than 57 innings in the past 6 years. I think it's
Exactly.
2019 he threw like 100 and something innings before his injury, before his surgery, all that kind of stuff. So April wins are not as important as October wins. And
Mm,
these fans here, dude. I mean, I'll tell you, they're different than Chicago fans, dude. You know how Cubs fans, oh, we'll get him next time, guys. 108 years, right? We're
all
still
right.
coming to the game. Like the Chicago fans aren't hard on their teams, or at least like the Cubs. Like they're not hard on the Cubs. Like
Right.
we're there, we love them. They've been named the lovable losers for decades. That was their moniker. The lovable losers. Philly fans, like, they got always something to complain about, dude. They're complaining about everything, even when they're winning. Why aren't we playing Schwarber? Why is Bermulto out? All this shit. I'm just like, shut up, dude. So they're complaining about Turnbull. I told them, you got to monitor his innings, dude. If you want him down the stretch, which
Sure.
is juicing him, you got him for a cheap deal. You don't want to run him into the ground in May, and then he's on the shelf in June and July. And what is the point of that? You have him. He can go to the bullpen and be a long relief guy. You're paying Taiwan Walker, I don't know, 15 something $1 million a year. He's gonna pitch. He is a starter. So I don't have a problem with that, dude. I wanna see Turnbull laid, or I want to extend his shelf life. The guy hasn't thrown that many innings in the last 6 years. So that's what I always say. They don't want to hear it, but I don't know if you had any thoughts on it.
I do. I definitely do. My perfect comparison to that is watch the career of Tyler Glass now. I think that's really important. Another guy, he has thrown over 120 innings pitched once in the last 6 years. I believe that was like 2019, 2020, something like that. And I think that's definitely a conversation to have about the injuries. That's why he comes into this season injured. That's why he's always banged up, is because, you can't have him out there for too long. And I think it's really important to understand who you have in your room. I coach high school baseball. I know who's a hothead. I know who, the second he gives up 2 runs, take him out, because he's about to give up 5 because he's pissed and he's not even at the game anymore. He's in his mind talking about why
Mm-hmm.
his dad doesn't love him, all this other shit. I have no idea. Like, you gotta go, Billy. It's time. But, and you have other guys who, okay, he's going to get a little banged up at some point. I got to have somebody who's behind him. So, I think they really do capitalize on that, both from a pitching perspective and also they got my guy over there. And I'm going to ask you because he's great in stints, but if I ever see somebody with a left hand, I never see this man even touch the grass. Where the fuck is Brandon Marsh, and why does he not play every single day? Because I've been trying to figure that out. I have him in fantasy. I picked him up later rounds. I don't know why Brandon Marsh doesn't play every single day. Sheff, can he just not hit against lefties? Is that what it is?
No, that's the complete opposite, actually. So that's one of my biggest gripes I have with Rob Thompson is that he, like Joe Madden did, they're very big on matchups, lefty, righty. There was a point last season where Brandon Marsh had better splits against lefties than he did righties, mashing 3-something, had like a 390 OPS, whatever it is. He's hitting lefties better, but because of lefties pitching, I don't agree with that. I want my dogs out there. Brandon Marsh is an everyday player. He should be playing center field every day. So I don't agree with that whole matchup thing. He can hit lefties. Let him hit lefties. And he's an everyday center fielder, 100%. So I don't agree with that matchup stuff.
Yeah, and you know how I felt about Madden. I mean, it was you always trying to be the smartest guy in the room, and when you do that,
Over-managing, right?
yeah, I mean, you just end up looking like an asshole. That's really what it comes down to. And even like, we talk about David Ross last year. Like why I was getting so frustrated is I love Rossi, but if you think Christopher Morel shouldn't be playing 150 games a year, brother, he hit 25 bombs in less than 110 games. You give him
Right.
150. That's why I think he's going to be an all-star this year because I think he's going to finish the year with 35 to 40 home runs. Slow start, but now, hey, look, he's got like 7 in the last 2 weeks. So it's like, you look at, and that was like 5 in the last 7 days. And it's one of those things for me where, you got to let these guys mash, no pun intended. Like, that's just what it comes down to. Brandon Marsh is mashing the ball out. And it's just one of those things, man. It's interesting. So I love you guys' squad. I love what you guys are able to do. But the big thing for me is, we talk about how you guys manage the bullpen, making sure they stay healthy. You got Brandon Marsh just on the bench, and you got old heads like Harper and Kyle and obviously Trey just going out there every single day, running them into the ground. In May, you give him a day off, throw Marsh in there, DH him, do something. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make any sense to me to why we play the matchup game. I understand it from a pitching perspective, but if you let your hitters hit, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's obviously more complicated now with Turner on the shelf because you bring in Merrifield, right? I thought that was an awesome addition. The great guy was all-star last year. That's great. He could play second base. He could play left field. I'm just, I'm still not crazy about Rojas and Pache. I think they're the same player essentially, and it's just like a sub, league average player, which is fine. They've been hot recently, which is great, and I hope that continues. But I mean, we saw what happened in the postseason. Rojas was like 4 for 46. He's a free out, and you can't have that in the postseason. So having a bench is very important. And we would have Merrifield coming off the bench. Edmundo Sosa was always very successful coming off the bench. But now they're playing because Turner's out. So it's a little bit more complicated now, I guess. But bottom line, yeah, Brandon Marsh, everyday player.
For sure, for sure.
I want to just touch real quick on these City Connects, dude. Guardians revealed their City Connects, dude. I said they're butt cheeks, man. People, oh, they're great. Everyone wants something to complain about, and I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the complainer and the guy that wants to always talk shit. Like that's not me. I don't want to talk it. But, dude, we've seen these City Connect jerseys, dude. I mean, who is in charge at Nike making these decisions? Who's in this marketing department saying, yeah, that looks great, guys? The Guardians just released theirs, man. It looks just boring, dude. CLE. And they're like, well, the font on there is from the Guardians on the bridge that we have. I don't know what that means, dude. It's just stupid. It looks like there's no creativity. There's nothing fun about it. If it's a City Connect jersey, it should be fun. It should be different. Or whatever, but just like look better. It just doesn't do anything. So I think the City Connects are just played out, man. I'm just sick of them at this point. I'm like, they don't look good. They're not creative. Tampa Bay knocked it out of the park. I love the Rays ones. The Rays ones look dope. They glow in the dark. They got the manta ray on the skateboard. I'm like, that is cool. You guys killed that one. But 90% of them are just so ugly, dude. Or just so boring. There's nothing cool about them.
Yeah, no, and I didn't even know that happened, so I really don't give a fuck about Guardian baseball. So I was like, except my guy Dylan DeLucia, shout out to him. But I think Yeah, I mean, this is fucking horrendous. So that's really my opinion on it.
Yeah.
I think like my first initial thought is I understand they went from Indians to Guardians due to the two Guardian statues that they have outside of the ballpark, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it's two of them or how many
It's
of them
like
there
on
are.
a, I think on a bridge or something. The bridge
Yeah,
coming into the downtown, there's like a
but
guardian or something.
that could have been everything. You could have had the bridge and the Guardian, and then it could have been like a cool little pay montage to, the history of this organization, the history of the city, and everything else. So I think you definitely missed an opportunity there for the culture. And I think sometimes people are too pussy to actually offer those ideas. Like the Blackhawks do an amazing job at paying homage to the history of Chicago and what Chicago is. If you really, I mean, this was a fucking swamp before a bunch of white people made it a city. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there were people living here and they were, doing their thing off the land. So it's really dope. And I think to have such a great heritage that comes with the Guardians organization, to completely whiff on that is kind of crazy. I don't know if they're real, if there's validity to it, but I saw the Dodgers one kind of linked on Twitter last
Yeah,
night.
it looked like a Pop
Um,
Tart.
yeah, I didn't
It had
hate it
some
though.
sprinkles on it. Yeah.
Whatever. They didn't fuck it up, but this right here is just like it's just lazy. I could go on Snapchat right now and write CLE and put a certain, font on it and it looks just
Yeah.
like that. I think Pittsburgh kind of did the same thing where I was just kind of like, but why? Like why
Right.
who made this and was like, this is the one. Like I'm
Right.
spending 200 like my Nico Horner City Connect, I spent $200 on that and it says respect our neighborhood and you better fucking right you're gonna fucking respect it. Like
Yeah.
it's sick. And the Wrigleyville is just sick. It's dope. I love it.
Shaped like
Um
the marquee.
like it's hard, bro. And then like, even the ugh, not I don't even want to say it, but the White Sox, the rare W, Southside City Connect,
I think it
fucking art.
fits. It fits their
Them.
culture. If
Fits
it
them.
looks like a gangster jersey, like it's
Yeah,
like, hey, this is a South Side jersey.
it's fucking sick. It's tough. I would wear it myself if I fucking could. Like I know they made the blue versions of the shy hat. I'm gonna
Yeah.
fucking get one. I don't give. I'm just gonna say it's a Cubs hat. Fuck you. But
Yeah.
it's fucking tough, bro. And even Cubs fans were like, "Yo, that is the sickest fucking
They,
hat I've ever
yeah, they
seen."
killed that.
They
Yeah, it
killed
looks.
it. But you got to know where you come from, bro. That's huge. I'm huge on that. That's why I love the stuff you do, man. The Sheffield Shuffler, where you come from, what you do, and how you pay yourself, and just paint an image. Paint a fucking image. Paint. This is art. This is supposed to be something where you're bringing in an artist to be able to comprehend, not to make it off track, but Chicago native, Chance the Rapper. You might feel how you feel about him, but he's doing the Starline Gallery album coming out right now. Instead of how you do like in an album, you have one picture that is the
Mhm.
album. This one, every song has a different painting that people, and he's huge on art in Africa right now, and artists in Africa. Every song has a different painting from a different artist that represents that song specifically. You just can't paint a fucking thing on it and be like, cool, but we're a great team.
Right.
No, bro. Like, make it individual, make it personal, make it something that somebody's gonna fuck with. Like, I could see a million people, black, white, Hispanic, Chinese, whatever. Everybody who wears the respect our neighborhood jerseys fucking can resonate to it in some way. This is just like CLE. Cool. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck is? What are we
Yeah,
doing?
it's boring. The Philly one, people had there weren't really mixed feelings on it. It was just everyone kind of just hated it.
I like your
Which
hat though.
the hat is, I like anything with the bell. Anything with the bell. I like that it's navy and yellow, so it can, like I like to match, dude. Like my shirt, my hat. Like that's why I got so many hats, so I can match with my clothes. So it's nice to have a navy hat and it's got a little bit yellow in there. So I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
I can wear this with something different. So instead of just the red or the blue or the maroons are tough, dude. The maroon and the blue, the color scheme the Phillies got, like it's I think it's just like one of the best in baseball, dude. The
Oh,
baby
for
blue
sure.
with the maroon, I'm just like, damn, that looks good.
It
All
looks
right,
tough.
before we get out of here, dude, because my camera, I don't know what the battery's at, and then if it shuts off, it fucks up everything.
It's okay.
But tell me about Chicago Sky, dude. Your experience covering Angel Reese, Cardoza. How much bigger is it now this year with all these recent college athletes and stars that are playing in the pros now? How has it been covering them? You obviously had your quote on ESPN, dude, which was awesome. So
Thanks, man.
how's this experience been?
Yeah, it's different, man. It's different. It's what I imagine, and it sounds horrible. It's what I imagine covering media for the NBA would be like because I remember I was there when Candace Parker was there. I was there when we won a championship. I was, with some of the greatest players of all time, Allie Quigley, Courtney Vandersloot, and Candace Parker, greatest Chicago, and also Candace Parker, greatest athletes of all time. But you break that down, and I'm sitting in there on the media day first. I see Lawrence Holmes from, I believe, 670 The Score, and I'm like, or ESPN 1000. I'm like, holy shit, I've never seen Lawrence here ever. That's no disrespect to Lawrence, but it's like, wow, like, the stars are bringing these guys out, are bringing in 670 The Score, ESPN 1000, ESPN, Fox News, and then, I'm talking to Teaspoon, I'm talking to Dana Evans, Brenna Maxwell, and then Angel sits down, and I thought I had a fucking stroke because the whole room just got really bright, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? My eyes are sparking. Like, I turn around, and there's these giant cameras, professional cameras that just turned on. I'm like, I've never experienced this until like the championship. You know what I mean? Like, we've never
Right.
had these things happen. So it's like, it's crazy, man. The amount of attention that they're getting right now is so great. And it's so well deserved because they've been working for all of their lives, not just Angel, but so many players on this organization, so many players in this league, to now have charter flights so that they don't have to get bothered at O'Hare Airport. I mean, Angel Reese at O'Hare would be a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People would be running up on her. So to have that happen is really great. I know they're expanding some teams, but really quick, I'd like to take a moment to say fuck you to the ownership of the WNBA because, you bring in a new team and that's great, but Brenna Maxwell, who's viewed as the best shooter, Sheff, the best shooter in the country, did not make the roster today because there's only 12 roster spots, and it's really unfortunate. I understand bringing in another team, but if you just expanded the roster spot to what a typical NBA roster, 15, 16 guys, if you just did that, I mean, you're looking at so many other players being able to get paid, so many players who get drafted, first-round picks who don't fucking make the team. It's crazy. So there's still a long way to go, but, I mean, what these younger stars are doing for the league right now is everything. It's a long time in coming. Asia Wilson and company have been here for years, so it's not like these athletes are the first time we've seen great players. Sue Bird, Maya Moore, the list goes on. So it's really dope though, man, and I'm having a blast. And hopefully it's going to be a whole summer of us just eating, making great content, and hopefully just doing our thing, get back to winning our championship in the shot.
Yeah, dude, I can't wait to see more of this stuff coming up because I think once the season starts tomorrow, right? What
For the Chicago
for the
Sky, they start Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay, because I saw the Fever start tomorrow with Caitlin Clark.
So that's obviously gonna be televised everywhere. They're gonna definitely bang that one out. But yeah, season starts tomorrow. Man, this is gonna be a special season for sure. Might be one of the best rookie classes we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean it's getting like you said the most notoriety, the most attention. That I mean everybody's paying attention to WNBA now because of this class coming in, like you said.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
dude, we are looking forward to seeing all the stuff that you got coming out, and everybody follow the Shy Kid. Is it just the Shy Kid on all social media?
I believe it's just the shy dot kid. I believe some asshole has the shy kid, and he
Sure.
wouldn't give it up. So I have the shy dot kid, TikTok, Instagram. Not huge on Twitter, but you could see me there retweeting stuff Sheff or Michael Power or the Cubs post all the time.
Sure. All right, guys. Give Mike the Shy Kid a follow. Mike, thanks for joining us today, dude. I appreciate it.
Thanks for
Stick
having me, man.
around. I'm gonna shut this off, guys. We'll see you next episode.